I'm Rivers Collier. I'm a freshman here at Clemson. I'm just completing my Library 100 assignment of the New Student Dialogue. Um, my New Student Dialogue was the final session, so it was a variation of the New Student Dialogue. It was a more of a lecture than anything. There was no group discussion. But it was a lecture on dialogue, so still got to get an understanding of dialogue and it's more of its importance in society and culture today, especially in America. There are a lot of people get the three confused: debate, discussion, and dialogue, because they all require two sides um, in speech. But dialogue, like debate, focuses on who's right, discussion on who is smarter, more or less, and dialogue is kind of centered around who can get deeper and grow through the dialogue and connect the most by the end. Debate it uses two sides trying to oppose each other and attempt to prove a point and prove the other person wrong, whereas discussion is just two parties trying to contribute the most to one single idea or notion of community. And where dialogue is a collaborative form of communication, where these two sides aren't trying to see who's smarter, who's right, but are actually trying to work together to move forward in a common understanding. Dialogue is personal experience, and dialogue is vital to the success of a dialogue, whereas personal experience is kind of secondary in debate and not even relevant in discussion. Because in dialogue, it tries to explore identities and differences to process the content of the exchange, whereas there's no attention to identity or status or power in discussion, and in a closed-minded attitude of the debate, the individuals are considered to be judged just solely on their intellectual might. So identity is also irrelevant. For dialogue, one submits one's best thinking, trying to know that people's reflections will help improve rather than destroy it, trying to suspend all judgments in dialogue, whereas in a debate, one submits one's best thinking and tries to defend it to show that it is right. But once again, in dialogue, one's trying to search for the strengths in others' positions, whereas in debate, one's searching for the flaws and weaknesses in others. I kind of consider debate and dialogue to kind of be opposites, because in dialogue, you're trying to use emotion and personal experience to learn, whereas in debate, you're using others' personal experiences and emotion to bash and to try to get the upper hand. Because in debate, winning is the goal, whereas in dialogue, finding a common ground to connect is the goal. Emotions in the process of all three. Dialogue tries to work to uncover any kind of confusion or contradictions, trying to get to a deeper understanding, whereas discussion is plainly based on the content of the discussion, and debate involves the countering of the other position without focusing on the feelings or relationships, and often deprecates the other person. Another focus that this new student dialogue was the anxiety with the youth and how the youth deals with conflict, And some that I could personally relate with are like in a time of conflict or leave, which where you physically remove yourself from the conflict and just avoid it by all means, both mentally and in the situation. Avoidance, where we just avoid any kind of future encounter and try to withdraw emotionally from people or situations that are common with conflicts. Um, and also silence, just being closed-minded and just closing up when a conflict is brought up, and we get through it just by just ignoring it without saying anything. And one that I commonly see with others is attack, where they simply respond with an intention to hurt, because that's the only way they know how to react. They try to hurt whoever has triggered them and triggered the conflict. Internalization is another one, where they take the content in the conflict, and they, for some reason, stomach it and try and over time believe it to be true, which hurts them in the long run. And then confront, which is where they name the conflict and invite and demand that the offending behavior or policy be changed. Um, and the last thing about dialogue is that they ended the new student dialogue, this particular one, with a video on an African author. She was a Nigerian woman, and she was familiarized with literature at a young age, and but she was Nigerian, and the only books she had were English and British literature. And as she began to read and began to write herself, she she wrote about white people with blue eyes and their situations, because she was young and naive and didn't realize this was not her story. But as she grew and learned, that she began to write about what was familiar to her and what was familiar to her situation. Um, Overall, I feel like a group discussion would have been better for this particular topic, just about culture and society. It would be better to get other people's perspective than simply a lecture. I'm upset I wasn't able to do that, but I do think the lecture was effective, despite the large amount of people, and I'm glad I did so, and I'm glad this library and Clemson Connect was very helpful to my growth as a college student. All right, thanks.